Ramadan 2020. It's finally here, right? Every year, the coming Ramadan, we think of it in the back of our mind around January. Like, okay, there's only 5 months, no, 3, 4 months till Ramadan, and then we're like, oh, 4 months is a long time. Yeah, I can start fasting a little bit, and so it's not so boom, it hits you so hard, and then it just happens. Ramadan happens, right? But really, since the quarantine started, for a lot of people, it was like a Ramadan. It was like a self-imposed. The vibration of Ramadan, if you look at it in a sense of opposites, you know, polarities, similarities, right? In Ramadan, what we don't watch movies in Ramadan. In my family, it was traditional not to watch movies in Ramadan, and it would be kind of like quieter in Ramadan. Some people might wake up every Fajr with their family in Ramadan. Some people, in some families, it's like a event. It's like a festive kind of event where you get to, the kids get to stay up late every night and go to the masjid and kind of be in that festive atmosphere. The vibe, right? There's a vibration. It's a frequency. It's a vibration. Everybody's in a cheerful mood. Everybody is kind of, it doesn't matter if there was anything going on the time before. It's just when you're around people of the same mindset, everybody wants to get closer to the divine this month, get closer to Allah, and every year it seems like every Ramadan is the same over and over and over. Same routine, same everything. But this year, it's like that trial, that pre-Ramadan started when the quarantine started. But unfortunately, I realized that since there's no, relief of energy to see friends at the masjid and be around other Muslims, since there's no kind of like a festive atmosphere to go to, a lot of Muslim people, they went into that Ramadan in a very somber kind of attitude, very much worried about the dunya, about the future, worried about this, just looking at, wow, it's such a, what's happening, and worried about the economy, and just needlessly getting in that state of worry. So their Ramadan is it's gonna be different. It's gonna be, if you are that kind of person and you're listening to me, number one thing you have to do, you have to turn off the news. Do not consume that energy of fear. There's no good news out. Okay, you know what? You're healthy. You're breathing good. Don't worry about the rest of the world. Just be yourself. Take care of yourself, of your immune system, your own mind, your own body. That body that receives. You have to detox that thing. Ramadan is a great opportunity to detoxify your body. Don't consume the same food. Don't consume the same fear. Because a lot of people, I see them having, they might have a good iftar, but they're still in that vibrations. They didn't do anything to oppose that consumption of fear into something else. That if you are fearing all this stuff, there's things you can watch instead of the news that will give you just as much energy, but it'll give you energy of, wow, you know what? In every downturn, the uptick creates so many millionaires that every industry benefits, and there is an industry that not an industry you have passion for. What I'm saying is you have a passion in something you're weirdly good at, but you don't have the credentials. You don't have credentials that say, hey, you went to this business school or that business school, because you're after the money. You're after a certain, position to get a certain amount of money and security. What you have to do is you have to understand the promise of Allah. The promise, if you are after your passion and that core desire, which was given to you literally by the divine, by Allah. It's like a higher ideal you have to get to, and to get to that, you can't. You have to go through not trials, but you have to let go of things that weigh your heart down, guilt, fear, even hanging on to old traditions that are just actually they don't make sense, or you've been listening to. If you desire a life where you let go and let God, what it's like you just let go and let God, as in let go of your fear, despite the fear you have to become that person you want to be. Let go of the fear. Go through that fear of, even, for example, I had a fear of going on live on Facebook. And I did it a few times, and I went through the fear of bumbling my words. I went through, then I critiqued myself, and I went through the fear of, what am I, okay, I heard my recording, and I said, okay, I was saying like too many times. I went through that fear, and I faced it. And I went through it over and over again, thus allowing myself to just be more like a channel, allowing it to just flow through me, and and knowing the words will just come out. Because everything is from Allah, right? Allah's promise. He promised. I'm not going to say He. Allah. There's no gender. Allah. That's what we have to understand Allah as. It's not a person. It's not a entity. It's everything. It's not separate. It's not somewhere else. It is Allah. Is all the names of Allah, right? It's the breath. The breath forms words. Words are frequency, vibrations. Some words have low frequency, and you can create things with these words that you create with your words. And where the word is it attached to your ego, or is it attached to the divine, as in you just become a vessel? And the more you detach it from the ego, the nafs, and you just let go without having fear of being laughed at or whatever, without having fear of how are we going to survive, how are we going to do this, and all you do is you become that vessel that can have that intuition. And what is intuition? Intuition is that voice, and you can and you recognize that voice. It's from something else. It doesn't instill fear. It doesn't instill worry. That is the intuition. Intuition is that that voice of the divine speaking to you, your higher self speaking to you. And most of the times, it's whispering. See, it's whispering to you all the time. And we've been told that, the whisper of the devil, whispers in your ear. No, the thing is, we've been explained to that in a different way. We held on to it in a very childlike manner, emotionally. The nafs, the ego yells and screams and it's like, protect, no, I know what's better. Oh no, this person is my leader. Oh no, this. It's a bunch of labels. It's the ego. It yells, it screams. Okay? It's always talking out. It's always angry. It's in talking loudly in your mind even, and a well-adjusted ego is just talking in an arrogant way to you. It's like, oh, who's this guy? Okay, who is he? He doesn't have a beard, or it's like the subconscious thing. It's deep in the subconscious mind, and it's the nafs that takes over, and what was I saying? So if you're living in that, okay, so the ego yells, right, and the divine whispers. It's a whisper, and to hear that whisper, that ego has to be more and more quiet, and it has to be trained. It's a training. It's literally training. It's a muscle. Okay, the brain is literally a muscle, right? How was it created? It was created from the mind. Okay, yeah, you could say your DNA, whatever, but it was the word of Allah, right? And that was from something else, and what I'm saying is that's that is the super conscious. Okay, it's seeds, and wow, it's getting kind of deep over there, but Ramadan this year, people have to understand the promise of Allah and what it means and what is Allah. Allah is not somewhere. Allah is not something, but nothing can be outside of Allah. Nothing can be outside of Allah. Allah is, you know what I'm saying? It's trippy. How can anything be outside of Allah? Then what is that thing outside of Allah? Where did that come from? See what I'm saying? It's like that is Allah. Everything. And it's just and it's not a blasphemous thing to even say this, because we know this dunya is an illusion, and it ties, and the illusion itself is tying you down to the illusion with fear of death, fear of being laughed at, fear of, it's all ego attachment, and people hold on to that fear all their life, or they hold on to that anger all their life, and they witness that reality from that anger and bitterness, and they get older and they really they can't be happy. It's like, how did that happen? That happened from not understanding, not letting go of that ego, that rigidness in your mind. Let it be flexible. That's why they say when an older person starts learning a new language, it's really good for the brain, because the brain starts operating in places where it was very tied down by the intellect. It was tied down by the intellect, and you can do, and you can even walk around more, and be more. You could be more. You could be more active. Walk around the block. Eat healthier foods. Consume better energy. Consume the air. Go outside. It's such an amazing air. You know how they say, oh, because of no cars and whatnot, places are being less polluted. You know what? Go outside and breathe that air. That air will oxygen. It'll fill your lungs with oxygen. Okay, your capillaries will get that oxygen, and in exchange, you keep in that breath for a few seconds. All right, and then when you exhale carbon dioxide, and you exhale the worries, exhale that toxic environment that you have had in your air, in your blood, in your spent oxygen in your body. held down. How's that oxygen been in your body more? It's been held down by your thought and your actions. Hold on a second. Okay. What is better than water? Seriously, what is better than water? Now, why do we drink these drinks like these frozen water and these shakes and things like that? What can be better than just lukewarm water, not cold, icy water? I'm talking about just normal water that you just put in your mouth and you don't even know that you have anything, but it just opens up your blood vessels in a way that it's like it doesn't. It's just like drink. It's like air. It's just like crystals going down your throat. It's like diamonds just rolling down. Imagine diamond balls, diamond spheres. Okay, I'm talking about a perfect round sphere, just going down your throat, being in your mouth, and just rolling down your throat, your esophagus, and just you can feel it just go to your lymphatic system, and you can just feel it go to your veins and your brain, and your eyes open up, and it just feels amazing. And while that happens, it happens. How quickly does that happen? In less than like a second, right? In less than a second, you're like, wow. The moment it touches your tongue, it feels amazing, amazing. And while that's happening, you can understand that process. And while that process is happening, you can instill certain energy and frequencies to that thought while you're drinking it. Therefore, water is just crystal, right? It sounds weird, but water, you can put messages in water, waves, frequencies in water. So thought, you can create frequency with your thought, and the action of drinking the water becomes the vessel for that thought to travel down your body. Now, if that vessel that's putting it down your body, if it's more and more polluted with chemicals and sugars and this and that, it's going to, while you're having, if you drink those things, more likely it's your body's reaction to like opening up all that insulin and sugar pumping in the body. You know, doctors can tell you, all these doctors, I'm telling you, like, isn't it true that in 3 grams of sugar in an adult, that's when the alarm bells of the body starts kicking on, like the insulin starts kicking in, and all this stuff happens, and then people, you know, their insulins rise, and they just keep on eating and keep on eating, and then they're not exercising anything, you know, so they have this excess of glucose in their blood, and that turns into fat. That has to be stored in fat. But usually, since we're not exercising out in our mind, even we're not exercising our thoughts, and we're not exercising our body to take those thoughts out of our body in terms of losing toxins through exercising, through movement, through the burning of calories. What is that? What does that mean? How do you burn calories? Like literally, they're. It's like, what is a calorie? It just comes out of your mouth. It's like you can breathe it out when you breathe it out. You can breathe out calories. Incredible. Just like how when you breathe in, you're breathing in oxygen, but if you breathe in oxygen with the higher thought of like you're breathing in this thing that you can program, and it's from Allah, and it's like flows through you, your blood and all that stuff, and you breathe it in, and then you can breathe out, and you do that. It's like exercise, and you can just literally detoxify your body. And then imagine the foods you put in your body. It can further detoxify your body, your liver, your stomach, and it can taste good. You know, you don't have to eat fried pakora every day. And then why are you frying it in vegetable oil? It's like, why? What is it going to take for you to realize that it's not healthy, and realize that the more you go natural in terms of how we're supposed to eat, and more fresh foods with more living enzymes, you know, fresh vegetables. I'm not saying be a vegetarian or vegan. No, I'm not saying that. Yes, I eat meat too. But I was a vegetarian for 3 years also. What I'm saying is I get it. I'm saying is you can raise the vibration. You can raise the frequency of the food in terms of what it does for your body. And it can taste really good. And imagine you do that for 30 days consistently, and you change the mindset of your mind, and you rearrange your mind so the thoughts that keep you down are, first of all, they don't get added to that. But then also you do the work, the spiritual work, the self-reflection work of dua. That's because all things come from Allah, right? So to do something, to get over, to get something, to even get the patience or the courage, to get the courage. Like, how many people pray for, oh Allah, please instill in me the courage, the courage, and you invoke the name. He has a name that's courage, the courageous one, the mighty, the almighty. Allah is just all the names, but I'm saying there's specific names Allah has. That is a frequency, that is a vibration. The more you tap into that name and you let that name of that frequency, vibration of Allah, and that attribute that you need to become courageous flow through your body, your vessel, the vessel that is created by the divine, right? And the more it is in that state of being, it's like you're getting the courage to what? Courage to courage to stand up, maybe courage to open the business despite what people say, courage to fail, courage to face failure. But failure is not failure. Failure is just, you have one more. You know why? You can critique yourself. You can take yourself through hell and critique yourself and be like, you know what? I failed because I was lazy as hell. I was lazy. Or I was just being too intellectual. I'm telling you by experience. I was being too intellectual. I was fearing what people will say. I was fearing that I didn't have what I needed. I need this now. I need this. I gotta buy this now. Oh, I need to make it more professional. And then I stopped all that because I recognized it. And you know what? I'm telling you, it's more of a, you have to be in the vibration of just knowing that everything comes from the divine, and you have to become the receptacle that catches that opportunity, or that, and the only way it can catch it first, as in it has to be above the ego. I can't be worried about looking foolish or thinking I'm going to mess up. I can't anymore. It's like before I was about talking about the stuff I'm talking about. And the only way I got that energy was from asking the divine from within, through doing the ritual of prayer, through doing the different rituals of understanding what even Hajj is. Hajj, you have to go once a year, to a stone, to a place, a house of Allah, right? It's just a stone, it's just a brick. Okay, there's not even one life of a Muslim is worth even a break on that Kaaba. That's the truth. It's just a representation. It's a symbolic representation of something greater. See, it represents the Kaaba, Ka and the Ba, the Ka and the Ba in ancient Egyptian spirituality. I'm talking about thousands of, people have been, there was origination of people, right? And they always were understanding Allah. And they were always like, and messengers came, and all that stuff, And it was like, the group grew bigger, and more messengers came, and it's like, the messengers came, and then like thousands of years later, another messenger came, and it's like, we think of it as like time periods in history, and we look at it as, okay, what, how old is the earth, is it 6,000 years old, is it 1,000,000 years old? And it's like, if it's 1,000,000 years old, they didn't come 500 years one after another, but the thing is, like, at the end of times, it says the time will go faster and faster. A year will feel like a season will feel like a month, and a month will feel like a week, and a week will feel like a day, and a day will feel like, it's like I just woke up, and it's all of a sudden, it's like I'm looking at the time, and it's like 3 o'clock. It's like, what? Where did time go? It's like, what? 3 o'clock? And it's not like I was lazy. Just I was in my deep passions of what I'm doing, of going fearlessly into that vision that I have uniquely to me. It's unique to me, but the tools are not unique. The tools are universal. The tools are understanding Allah in a higher sense, in a higher, not, you might know Allah as with a mindset of a teenager. Okay, you have to take that mindset, you have to graduate it to mindset of a PhD, of a college, theologian, and then graduate that into a master's and then a PhD, and then it's like, you don't need that title from anybody. You don't need it from the outside to give you that title. You have the knowledge from within, because you have the fitrah. The fitrah is the DNA, that access point. You have that from within. And the more you label yourself, the more labels you put upon your ego. And what reason are you putting those labels upon? I mean, let's not kid each other. We are in the physical dunya. We have an ego. We have to, my ego wearing this, it looks like this, And do I have a ego? What is that? Where's that ego coming from? Is it coming from the attachment to wanting something? Wanting, for example, wanting praise, or wanting, what is a want? Even wanting, even wanting, like, people to, to buy something, even people to sell something to. That is the ego attachment. See, that is the ego's doing and thinking, and it thinks the way it can do that is by the algorithm, and you have to have this camera, and you have to have, you have to have this, and you have to know this kind of speech, and you have to have it like this and make your hair like that and have it in the angle and that is just a technical ego aspect. But why? Is it doing it so it can trick people into 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 fear, into more contraction? Like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna sell you this fear, so you can now basically need this for me to get out of that state of fear. You know, and it's like, or you need this, you need this, you need this, this, I don't know, shoot, you need this medicine from me to to alleviate your pain or something, you know. But the truth of the matter is, the ego thinks in terms of what it identifies with, and it has to protect its identity. It has to protect its identity, and that ego, it must identify with its soul. Okay, when it identifies with its soul, it identifies with the thing, you know, it lets it go to the soul because it understands that the soul is where the attachment should be. And if the attachment is there, then and you go to your soul's journey, because there is a unique expression of your soul, and it's in the dunya, it's in the physical illusion, and that unique expression, you have to go towards that unique expression, but not through the ego. The ego can't do it because the ego lives only in the physical, lives only in the mind of Caesar, okay, the third dimension, where it's attached to the logical mind, okay. It has to let go of fear of this illusion, and people even laughing and that, this and that. Yes, they might laugh at you, but when you go through that laughter and you don't get your ego bruised, and you never do that again because you don't want to feel like that again, the more you do that over and over again, the ego, it basically weakens, you know, weakens its hold on getting, you know, like identifying with that pain. Yeah, that's it. Identifying with the pain. Even though it has it, it doesn't. It's like, okay, you know, it's just temporary. Okay, this I learned, and you know, it repeats over and over. It's like Groundhog's Day. You know, it's like, but it's happening to us all the time. We are like in a Groundhog's Day. Everything, it's like same shit every same day. You know, that's what we say to people, right? Oh, how's it going today? Oh, same. You know, it's the same as yesterday. It's just Monday's the same as every Monday. Tuesday's as Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's like every day is Groundhog's Day. You know what I'm saying? And the moment Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day realized, he just started to, he loved doing these things for people. And he really, then it was not about the ego attachment. And it was letting go and letting Allah's promise run through you. And that's when he went to the next day, right? The next day, and the movie ended. You know, sorry if I ruined it for you, but I mean, obviously that's what is going to happen. It's an old movie. If you haven't watched it yet, that's sorry for you. But watch it. It's called Groundhog's Day. It is. It's a really great metaphysical understanding. Okay. So this is the promise of Allah. You you go towards Allah, and it's like a magnet. You're like a magnet. You have to go towards, and the closer you go, the closer. It's like it reflects you. It reflects you, and as you go closer, it's like you get more courage, you get more energy because you're closer. You're literally closer to the energy, so you get more energy to do that thing. You get more, voice. You get more of a intuition. You get more of just being that person, being that version of yourself that you can see, but maybe you have been too scared to go towards. And Ramadan is an awesome time to go towards that vision. And you're like, oh, wow, it's a time of prayer, we got to pray and just, no. It is the time of the Quran. The Quran can't exist. It has to exist through you. But we focus on the physical Quran and the rituals and we just get caught in the more logical understanding of what we've been told at that very intellectually very low level, and not understanding energy, frequency, vibration, not understanding the quantum mechanics of things and how they've done light particle tests and they've done the double slit experiment. I mean, gosh, it's like science can do those things, but what I'm saying is it's where science and spirituality begins, because it's through the mind, it's through that imagination, through that connection with the divine, where science expands. And science expanding, unfortunately, in our society means science trying to conquer. It's materialism more than science. It's trying to conquer the natural world. So it's like conquering. It's like making trees emit. Trees breathe in carbon dioxide and emit and exhale like a body, like they exhale oxygen, right? And we breathe that oxygen. And now they have these fake trees with 5G, that emit what? Emit radiation, and that feeds you too. But what is it giving you in return? And giving you in return, like how that tree gives you oxygen, but it gives you, the tree takes your oxygen, right? The tree gives you oxygen, but where does that get the carbon dioxide from? It gets it from the bad pollution, right? And it filters it through its perfect system, and it doesn't die or anything. It just gets more harder and harder, right? It gets more and more hard and bigger because it's absorbing that energy of that the food, what it's getting, which is actually carbon dioxide and oxygen through the different the chlorophyll and all that stuff, and you have like photosynthesis. It's like, it's amazing what the tree grows on, just the nutrients from the ground, like iron, magnesium, and phosphates and things like that. And it gets the carbon dioxide from the air, and it gets the sunlight, and it just opens up things in the water while they mix. It's just amazing. It's just and it becomes bigger and bigger. And these things are being replaced by these fake things. That science. It's like Frankenstein science. It's like, but the thing is, people think you can raise your frequency, and that same thing can't harm you. Like literally, you raise your frequency, and you raise it. It's not like, oh, you raise it and it just raise it. You just do your own, eat chips and all that stuff, and thinking you're raising it by thinking because you're watching motivational speeches and stuff. That's becoming your entertainment now. Yeah, it became mine for a long time. Like listening to these motivational speeches, and it's like get motivated, and then like and then do the same thing I did every day, and then it's like it became like a little sugar rush, and it crashed down. A sugar rush crashed down. It's like, okay, I got a new one. Okay, this music. I was the physical body was attached to the senses that thing brought, rather than rather than allowing it to. It's like it's clawing it more and more on that emotion, which is part of the illusion. So that became like a replacement. That became a addiction crutch, and that's what happens in this path, because the hooks that try to take you back into separation, back into, hey, just don't, it's scary, don't, they laughed at you, look at that, or no one's watching you, oh, you know what, or they're gonna think you're crazy. Personally, I had to go through those fears and be like, you know what, it's like I know what I'm doing now, because I understand that vision. And it's like anybody out there that has any thoughts of personal development has those same fears. You have a fear of maybe talking to your boss about an idea, maybe, but where does that fear come from? It comes from a fear of failure, fear of being laughed at, fear of security, fear of, maybe, all kinds of fear. But that fear you can take into anything. Some people have fear of some people have fear of trying something new. Some people have fear of trying something new because it's going to mean that they have to let go of what they know in order to try that new thing, which in their mind it's like it might work or it might not work, or it's too expensive, and then they don't do it because of those fears and those things the logical mind is saying, and it keeps on doing that same thing in its level, and that next step, going to the next step of health or mindset, or getting to really let go of guilt or some anger in your heart for the sake of Allah. See, not for the sake of you or your identity, for the sake of Allah. And by not doing that, what happens is you get weighed down more and more. You get weighed down more and more, and more thoughts, more fear comes on, more, and that jump to that next level, it gets even more and more. The farther it gets, the more anger the person feels, and the more fearful they are, and the more they feel that inside their self, inside their being, the more they lash out at the dunya, at their reflection, at just, because it's anger, it's coming from fear, it's coming from fear of security, it's coming from fear of something different. And everybody has different levels of fear, but all security comes from Allah. All security, all substance, right, comes from the divine. And people say, well, yeah, well, that means you have to work and this and that. It's like, yes, what is work? Work is you give your energy to something and you get something in return, correct? You give your time and energy into something and you get something in return. And you might be working at a place where you maybe the hours have cut down, or you you're really worried about keeping your job. You're worried about all these different things because of this economy, and you're worried about, how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to do this? When being in that state of worry will keep you in that state of worry, and you'll eat with that state of worry. You will worship in that state of worry. You will speak in that state of worry. You will, this is all in the subconscious mind. Your frequency will be walking in the state of worry. So what you consume will be consumed in a state of worry. So you won't be watching comedies. People that are worried about dunya, they don't watch comedies. They watch fearful things. They watch things that take them in a state of suspense, or excitement, or anger, or whatever. I don't know. But they don't watch comedies, because comedies, what it does is, you laugh, right? You laugh at comedies, and you let that laughter, it's letting that energy, that carbon dioxide out, and more oxygen in, and you just feel better when you watch a comedy, right? And it's just funny how comedies aren't really being made anymore, real comedies. And seriously, there's a science to this. There's a science to this. And it's about time that we, as Muslims, utilize this science, and not just utilize some abstract concept that we can't even think about and discuss. We can't discuss Allah. Like, what is Allah? Like, where are we? Like, you can't do it unless it's only in what the scholars have said, and what this person has said, and what that person has said. And it only has to be confined into your school of thought, and your madhab, and your, like, let's discuss Shia Muslims, like, what do they believe? Why, they have 12 imams, and why there are 12 zodiac signs, and every single spiritual system in the world has something to do with 12 and the zodiac. Aries, Capricorn, Virgo, the 12 zodiac signs, and then the 12 disciples, and the 12 tribes, and this and that, and then, but then they say, oh no, see, we don't have it in our Quran and our Sunnah. Yeah, we do. We have, because the people that were from the past, they were Muslim too. They were still, if they died at that time and they were Jewish, and they died believing in Allah or Elohim or whatever, they went to heaven, because there was no time of when the Prophet came. This is like, I'm talking about Judaism. I'm talking about in the time of Moses. It's like we think that they didn't go to heaven or something, or it's like, what does that mean, even to go to heaven? And it just anyways, gets my mind wrapped up. We have to understand it as something within you, because the Quran is the word of Allah, and it was recited. Allah, it went down, and it was recited in terms of a word, frequency, vibration through the Prophet. And it wasn't supposed to be written, actually. It was oral. It was oral. It's an oral tradition. The speaking, right? So you're speaking it, and it's like your whole, it's like energies, It's like understanding the divine, and then as you adhere to that frequency coming down more and more, it's like your body, your whole dunya adjusts. That's another thing. Dunya isn't against you. Dunya isn't, the life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. The dunya is not against you. It is for you. But we've been brainwashed into thinking that we can't do anything. And when you're actuating, you're going towards your goal, things happen, that everything that's supposed to, that your logical mind couldn't understand, those things start happening in my personal life. You know, I mean, I'm involved in a project now that logically I could never have been involved in, and it's a, you know, and it's like a, and it's a company, it's a place where it allows me to do what I'm doing, you know, this kind of stuff, and in the meantime I can still do what they require me to do. And not only that, it's about energy. It's like they appreciate my energy, they appreciate what I bring to the table, what kind of, you know, in terms of the understanding of, you know, the laws and whatnot, understanding the procedure, and not only that, but creating a procedure, creating a flow chart for future people in this company, and that they will grow. You know, they're going to grow, and it's in a different kind of industry where it's a no-brainer, and it's just and the thing is, for example, a few months ago, maybe a few weeks ago, I was really started to use my equipment, you know, my camera more, and just doing more videos and being more active and talking about this kind of stuff. And in the meantime, I was still appreciating my camera, even though it's really old. I was appreciating it. My cell phone, you know, my iPhone. I have an iPhone 6, you know, and it's like a little cracked here, but it's still, you know, it's a little older now, and the camera is not that fresh, but I was still using it all the time. But I really appreciate it. And my laptop, I appreciate it, of course, and I was in that gratitude while I was doing my videos and whatnot and things like that. And this opportunity landed, and not only do I get paid to kind of like let that fit into my lifestyle, it's like it's fitting for me. It was like as if Allah created it for me, literally for me. It's like as a gift, you know, and recognize it as such, into not getting into ego and be like, no, I want this salary, I want that salary, and okay, I'm gonna get paid this much. It's like you just do your thing, just be in the gratitude mode, and just establish yourself in those couple days in that zone. You know, don't talk about money. Don't, obviously they're gonna pay you, you know, but it's not about the pay. It's about, you know what, doing that thing in the as the anchor, become the anchor of that company, and become an integral part of them in terms of taking them to the next level. Become a key figure, right? Become the energy of that entity. See, it's a corporation, corpse, right? A corporation is a corpse. It needs a corpse is dead, right? A corpse does not have life in it, does not have a spirit or soul. It's dead. So now the skeleton crew of what gives it movement and all that stuff is the titles. For example, CEO, secretary, you know, all these titles gives it energy, because every corporation has to name their employees. They have to have a treasurer, you know, they have to have a CEO or a president, you know, and a secretary, right? These three things. But for it to be successful, it has to have a soul, correct? Now that's when the people that are in those positions, what they bring to the table. Can they recognize talent and bring it in, and allow them to not take over, but allow them to, take over, and allow them to take over and let the stream go to the ocean that you've created. See, your end result is the ocean, right? Now you allow them to create that stream. Because if you create it, it's going to be rigid, it's going to be loopy and this and that, because you're still holding on to old understandings. Yet, what you bring to the table is what the ego brings to the table. It brings in understanding of structure, understanding of law, understanding of the rigid stuff, right? How to build the building and what rules do like the contractor understands it needs this permit, it needs to be like this and that. So the ego becomes the contractor, and the physical dunya, right, is just a reflection of the contractor. The building is a reflection of is not the reflection of it's the structure of it is the reflection of the contractor. But we know the contractor didn't do it himself. He had the engineer design something, the electricians did this, that. There's so many parts that go into it, right? And it's like the lead singer gets all the credit, but no one knows the drummer and all these kind of things, It's kind of like that. And that's the ego. And but the soul is the love of the architect designing, putting it to a concept from his mind into the paper. Someone gave him a budget and they said they want it to look like this, and they give him a budget. That's like God, telling that person to make it look like this. They design it from their mind. They take that abstract concept and they put it into a focused energy form, and from that paper, the engineers and stuff have to, create that in the physical. They're like, no, we can't do this because the bedrock. Oh, and it's like, no, they made the freaking island. No, you make a freaking island. You have, the concrete. It's crazy things they do with like the not the Burj Khalifa, but in Dubai there's like my dad was watching something about some 7-star hotel in Dubai. It's a sailboat, and how they constructed the island for that structure to stand, and then like how it's not sinking in. It's like all this engineering, but it's like on faith, and then it's like, oh, it just worked out, just, hey, the person dreamed it and they put it there in the mind. It's a ritual. That's what I'm saying. We think of it as like, oh, it's just chance. No, literally doing a rendering of a building and all that stuff, that is a ritual. That is a ritual, because it gives even the engineers like, wow, it's going to look like this. Okay, this is what we got to do, and it's like psychological, it's like a ritual, and it's manifesting, and it happened. And look, it's only a 7-star hotel in the world. But it's all, where's that intent coming from? And the thing is, when you go towards Allah and everything you do in that mindset, even if you're making money, you make money in that mindset. It's like you become excellent in your working in the corporation. You become excellent. You become the foundation. You become, and you're doing it through gratitude, or you're becoming better at your own personal business. Whatever. It doesn't matter. In your personal life, it's making you more excellent. That's what everything is created for you, to become more high vibration. Go past the low vibration lifestyle. The 3D, we're going into the 5D. You know how they say 5G? It's like 5D. In this metaphysical movement, all this like love and light, and the ascension and the spiritual awakening, and it's like, it's more of labels. I'm talking about this is an inner awakening that you have to go through. And the more you go in your inner awakening, the more you reflect it in your own life, and you get that energy by, you know, breathing the name of Allah, and going outside, or breathing the name of the divine, or any high name, even saying, even forgiving yourself, and doing that shadow work, and letting go of grudges, and letting go of, your attachment to something someone said to you, and you just let it go, because it's just you have to see their anger. Why did they do this? Where are they coming from? And the more you see what they're coming from, the more you can see how maybe you're coming from the ego also. And it's like, when you let go of it, it's like it's not like it hits the person and it kills them. It's like it's almost like a rubber band that relieves tension, and both parties benefit. Somehow psychologically, when you forgive somebody, or you just forgive them, or then or something happens in between you two, and you just feel easier because that person's talking to you and all this, maybe because they forgave you, and it loosened that vibrational hold. It snapped, right? Maybe the initial shock was them talking to you, or them initiating conversation with you, but it was done in a consistent manner, and it wasn't not done out of like ego attachment, or I need, it's like a more authenticity. It's just more like, oh, what are you up to? It's like, not, I want to know what you're up to so I can tell you what I'm up to. It's like, oh, I want to know. It's like, hey, let's talk. That kind of atmosphere. And it's really interesting, because it just creates more of a relationship. And I think especially Ramadan, with this with this pandemic, and we can't go to the masjid and stuff. It's not a bad thing. It's not really it's actually, nothing is bad for the believer. Nothing is bad. Now you can let it be bad for you, and be caught in that grief and anger, and in the fear, of it. Or you can look at it as a real blessing, where you can work from home, where you can, what? Why are you worried about anything? If you get your connection closer to Allah, and you purify your body, and you purify your mind, and you purify the things that you do to keep your mind at a higher rate, as in, like, you're not consuming fear. That's the thing. You're not watching this news. What are you doing? You're doing something instead. You're learning something. You can, and you don't, I'm the same thing over and over again. Just to listen to Quran. I know it's good, but it's like, expand your mind, expand your knowledge, make that part of your worship too. Expand and expand your knowledge in the things that you want to do. Hey, you really want to promote your business that sells, something that's very useful, and you believe in it, and it's like, why don't you watch videos on how to maybe do marketing, or how to it's like very niche market, things out there that can help you with what you want to do. And it's that dread that we don't want to learn anything new, because it's fear, like, oh, what if you don't know how to do it, and, oh, you don't know how to do this, and it's too difficult. But that's the thing, people are out there that teach, tutorials. All you have to do is watch it a few times, and if you don't know something, what they said, you research it, and then you know it. If it's like, I didn't know many words, and my vocabulary was pretty weak, and I started to look up the definition of the words. And the more I did that, the more I polished my own understanding of words, and even reading them in my mind, it implanted these frequencies of those words in me more. Thus, raising the overall frequency of my speech. And it was not me. It's just you have to let go of the fear of letting go of what you do know, and embracing something you don't know, because you don't know the video, you don't know the topic, but you do know, not learning about the topic, you do know how to fear that, you know, you do know how to fear when you're not getting the orders, you know, but you do know how to fear competition and all this stuff. That's the thing. If you go through the fear and learn about the competition, or learn about what, you know, colors mean, and learn what, what psychology, how it sells, learn really how to add value to someone's life in terms of making them feel comfortable with what you're selling, allow them to feel the benefits of what you're selling in their life, and above all, be authentic. When the seller is authentic, and the seller didn't get authentic by not going through their fears. That's what I'm saying. The more you go through your fears of not knowing how to market, not knowing, Facebook marketing, not knowing how to upload a file, not knowing how to even find someone to do a logo, and whatever. It could be little simple things. When you fear these things, then you will always be underneath that fear. And the more you fear it, the more you can't get to that next level. And as you go through the fear, you get the courage, because you go through it despite the fear. And you get that energy from Allah, because everything is from Allah. The courage comes from Allah. Sustenance comes from Allah. The more you go through the fear of worrying, and you let go of the worry, and you let go of all these fears, and you start writing the frequency that you want to match, because you have a certain person. You want to be happy, just laughing around. You don't want to be worried. You don't want to be. But the thing is, you have to let go of those frequencies in the dunya, and let go of those frequencies in the heart, in the stomach, in the heart, in the mind. You have to let go of those ties down. They tie you down. So I'm not saying is that the rod, imagine like a hook. It's like a metal hook coming out of the world, and just like slapping onto your head. It's like those movies, like with the guy with the hook. It's like, that is the thought, that is the dunya, that is the ego, that is the attachments, right? But the attachments that are through your heart, and to be in the right angle, through your heart, that is where you should live from, the heart. And they even say in the law of attraction world, well, not even that, they say in the quantum physics world, that the heart has like a 5,000 times more power of magnetism than the mind, than the brain. you know. And wasn't it true that the part that went to Allah in the Prophet, it was the heart, right? The heart went to Allah, but before it went, it had to be purified, and it was purified in the Zamzam water, and that's why it has electrolytes. I mean, these are all physical dunya stuff, but I'm saying is, and it keeps it real to the physical dunya, because they say, oh, what do they do when they put a heart transplant? They put it in electrolyte water, and this Zamzam water has the same electrolyte water as those surgery, patients when they use the surgery water. It's like same electrolyte. Alhamdulillah, it's like they're still attaching it to the dunya. What I'm saying is that is a symbol. It's a symbol. It is a metaphor, and that is your same heart. You have to purify your heart, and the more you live through the heart, the more you can connect with Allah, right? And that vessel that connects to it, it needs food, right? It needs all these things, but it will be provided to you from the Most High. So if I do still I have a passion for driving a Ferrari down this, just around California. I have a passion for that. And the thing is, when you have a passion for something like that, but it's not tied to the nafs, it's not tied to, I have a passion so I can be feeling successful, I can feel like a badass, and I can feel like all the girls are looking at me, or I can feel like I'm better than somebody. When it's not tied to that, but it's tied to a emotional state, feel free, feel just, I don't know, just something like a dream that you had, and it's becoming true. And that is what I'm saying is when the whole world works for you. And we lost that kind of understanding. And instead we sold our security and let our vision, our soul desire to get put in the afterburners, And that it's like you put your soul in the back, and the front you put your physical dunya, your survivalism, your what you are, in your mind. You're this, you're Muslim, you're Jewish, you're Christian, you're from this sect, and you're Sunni, and you're this, and you're born here, and you're born there. It's all a bunch of labels. And if you don't know what creates labels, and what they are, and how it's defined for you to just attach onto without knowing the definition, then you get tied to that level of the definition. But as soon as you learn the definition, you don't have to take it out. It's not like you learn this kind of information and you're no longer Muslim. No. It's like you see the true essence you feel the divine everywhere. The vibration of the divine everywhere. It's in your action. It's in your movement. What I'm saying is everything comes from Allah. Even energy. All energy comes from Allah. So if our body is being fed with the energy of the ego, in terms of the food it's eating, then it's going to reflect in the physical body, right? If the ego is attached to looking a certain way and this and that, it's going to eat certain foods that will get it to that shape. If the ego is attached into at night just pigging out and attached to a certain image of Ramadan and what you're supposed to do, and oh yeah, you eat this food, yeah, it's good, you eat the samosas, but you pray now at home, and you do all the stuff at home. But the vibration I'm talking about, it's not the same. Because you're still in the fear state of mind, because something is different now. You're not going to the masjid. You're not going with your kid to the masjid. You're not doing those things. You're not meeting anybody else. And the ego really desires it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's there to give you energy. But we've been using this whole understanding of energy and how can you what energy is, what that power is. It's all Allah. Everything comes from Allah. It's beyond thought. See, whatever you think, it's from things that already existed. I can only think of words and say certain words that is already in the frequency. And I can say those certain frequencies together, and it's going to communicate a frequency to you, and you're going to see it in that way. It's like a ladder or a bridge. It's like building that bridge from the third dimensional thinking to the fifth dimensional thinking. But see, that is a thought. Only people create. It's the thought of the ego to encapsulate that energy. And if the ego was at a very low level, it's going to be at that dense, heavy, material, feeling energy, security, and this and that. That's what Ramadan's for. It's for when you catch that odd night, you pray and you get that prayer. It's like you pray every day, and you get in that frequency state, and then those last few nights where the ego is totally not, it's totally under control. The nafs, the body, is under control. You detoxified it. You don't, you're happier now, as in like you're closer to Allah. You let go of a lot of tears. You cried a lot. You let those emotions out. You forgave people a lot. And not only that, you can forgive somebody, but it doesn't mean you have to be friends with them. You forgive them. You not wish them, you bless them, you make dua for them, like from your heart. And it's like you don't need to talk to them. You give them that dua. Because maybe they're not over you, and they need that in their life. You can't force anything. Because that's the ego saying, "Oh, come on, I'll talk to you now." And then it's like, no, it's not like that. Because maybe you can't be that person they expect you to be, or they remember you as. And you can't calm down your light, maybe because your light shines light on their own dark fears, and it's like it's difficult to face that, and to forgive somebody or forget somebody, or forgive somebody, or even if they hurt you, or if you to acknowledge that you hurt them, and to forgive yourself. You forgive yourself. People don't remember to forgive themselves. You always have to forgive yourself, and then you grow. How it says, like, if you did somebody wrong, you have to ask them for forgiveness before Allah will forgive you. It's the same scenario. It's like he's talking about you. It's like your ego has to forgive itself. I have to say, like, wow, basically, it's like the ego kills itself, and it becomes another ego, but it's a higher vibration ego. We're not going to get rid of our ego. It's our physical skin, it's our mind's reflection. Because our thought of us, right, your thought of you is in your mind. And it's going to start reflecting. So if you wanted a certain lifestyle, and you get closer to that lifestyle, it's going to start reflecting in your life. And the thing is, that thing that is deep inside of you, that core soul desire, that passion, it comes from a higher place. Although it comes from a pure place. And when you go towards that, life happens magically. You know, you hear people in the 1920s. You know, they were like just these regular people, and they're like, you know, selling popcorn at the circus, and you know, and we're paid 1 nickel every week, you know, and then they work for this coal mine, and then all of a sudden they're this billionaire, you know. It doesn't work like that. Gosh, it does not work like that. You know, you don't get to where they got through hard work. See, they got to where they're at by understanding the laws of reality, the laws of Allah, because Allah gives to everybody, not just a Muslim, okay? Because the Allah, is the divine, is that for everybody. Okay, everybody. And that's why these people get it. But they get it, and then maybe they're attached to their ego more. But you know what? It's not even up to me to even see, oh, they were kafirs, or they didn't believe in Allah, though, you know, or they didn't do this. And people will say that to them, and it's almost like another self, talk that says, you know what, those people, when they get that much money, they are totally horrible people and this and that. Even though they might be doing bad things, it's a by you not buying into what they're doing, for example, their personal life or whatever, you know, it just becomes food for your ego to start hating all those, you know, start hating money, or start associating a lot of money with your psychologically, the emotion when you think of money, instead of, you know, instead of something that you look at as energy and as access to, you know, higher frequency, higher energy products, right? Higher energy experiences. It offers more security, right? That's what it offers, right? Money. Instead of thinking of it as material, you just don't think of the money itself. You think of a feeling state. You think of, you know, while I was on my computer and stuff like that, and I was on my phone, I was thinking of the gratitude moments. I was thinking of how, you know, I'm just grateful that I have a phone. It doesn't matter if it's cracked, you know, it's old. Someone told me, like, oh, that's a shit old phone. And I was thinking in my mind, and for a second I'm like, whatever, you know, it's like, I see these people with $1,000 phones that are brand new, yet they don't use it for anything except, you know, just going online, you know, YouTube. But it's like they have a business. You know, these people, they have an Instagram account. You know, like I know some friends, they have this, but they're not utilizing that camera. Yet in their mind, they justified getting the camera to do better film quality. You know, it's like, hey, it's HD and it's 4K, and you know, I saved a lot. You know, I don't have to get a camcorder. You know, and it's like all in one phone. That's why it costs $800. And they said they're gonna make videos, and they haven't done it yet. It's not the equipment. It's the letting go of fears and limited beliefs. And one of those beliefs is when you see a you know, you see a nice car and it instills jealousy, or it instills some kind of anger, like, or say you feel like, oh, I wish I could have one. Oh, maybe you might think good things like, oh wow, I wish I could have one. That'd be awesome to have one of these things. And then you start thinking about, then it's like, then either you start thinking about like, oh, but it's like something the rich people have, or oh, it's like it's outside your dimension of vibrational thought, even, but the reason why it came to your consciousness was for a reason. Everything, not even a leaf falls from a tree except Allah knows it. So you don't think a Ferrari drives by you, not even if Allah knows it. It's like it's trying to get you're supposed to, instead of feeling anger or jealousy, or you have to look at the beauty of it. You have to see that, wow, you know what, like, know about Ferrari and his story and where he got the passion from. He didn't do this for richness and fame. He did it for his passion for speed and winning, and this and that. And that passion showed in the energy that was produced in the physical, in terms of the car and the design and the attitude that comes with it, and becoming a match to that. So not in terms of label. You can't just put on a suit and think you're wealthy. Wealth is a vibration. True wealth is a state of being. Really. Because a really wealthy person, they can lose all their money and they can become wealthy again. Because it's a frequency that is not, when it's not given, and it's earned through, even a trust fund baby can earn wealth, because they get taught wealth. Maybe it's, people think it's arrogance, like, oh, they don't like black people, or oh, these wealthy people. No, it's like they don't. It's like, I wouldn't want that energy around me either. Like, what do I need? Why does let's just say a wealthy person that's, a millionaire, right? What reason do they have to be, you think they would be just hanging around? Like, but where do you think they would hang out? They would hang out at bookstores, at looking through magazines and just looking at those things, and the ones that I'm talking about, real true wealth in the mind, and wealth in the things you're doing, and wealth in terms of your foundation. At places like the bookstore, you saw people from the beginning stages of, like, oh, before they were at this level, like, how we see sports stars and you see them in their high school and they're like not that good, but then they win the NBA and all that stuff, and like Iverson's story, it's kind of like that. But look at it, think of it as everybody's life. Every single person that has made it to a high level, they have had a lot of pain in their life. They had a lot of struggle, and it's because they had that struggle. They had to overcome those struggles and those fears and those emotional scars. They had to totally, climb out of that hole, right? And just transform like a cocoon, like a tunnel. And that, my friend, is everyone's right. That, my friends, that is the point of spirituality. That is the point of Allah. That is the point of this reality. This is the point. The point is to get closer to the divine and become that vessel. And how do you become the vessel? It's by actually shining your personal light of what you have passion for. Maybe some of you have passion for teaching. Become that amazing, transformational teacher. But to be that person, you have to transform yourself. Otherwise, you know what? That frequency of rigidness is going to be in your attitude in life, attitude with your students, attitude with your family, attitude with yourself. And you will become more and more rigid, like the shell holding on to its form. The more it holds on to its form, the shell, it will not allow if this almond shell, if it held on to its form, this almond seed would never go in the ground, allowing it to germinate. But the shell is there to protect it, right? But obviously the shell, like with us, the shell is there to protect you. But as soon as it lets go of itself and it allows you to grow and then builds another shell, then allows you to grow, builds another shell, allows the shell to fall, but this thing gets bigger, the seed gets bigger into a tree, and the fruits it bears, it's more abundance. This is the point of Ramadan. It's the month of the Quran. It's the month of the vibration that manifested through one human. The energy manifested through one human. With DNA, with 5 fingers, with pain, with all kinds of emotions. Yet, it went through this person. And I'm telling you right now, it can go through you too. Because if it went through one human, it can go through any human. And that's the law. And the Prophet Muhammad is a symbol. There will never be another Prophet Rasulullah ever again. Okay? As a person, there'll never be one. What about the energy of the Prophet? The energy of his courage, the energy of his commitment, the energy of his care for, all these, care for Allah, love for Allah. And once you start getting to that level, you can also open up energies within your mind, break down walls, and get that vision, your own vision of your own life, and start being more excellent in your movement. Start being more excellent in your intake of energy, what you watch, how you eat, what you eat. Have it more pure, have it more close to what the body processes naturally. And in this era that we live in, there's no going back to the old. See, the old ways is what got everybody here. The old ways. It's a new era. It's a new dimension. It's a new energy that you have to adjust to. It's a frequency. It's a higher frequency. It's a higher way of living. It's a higher way of thought. You have to raise up. And the body has to, the more you work on your body, the more you let go of attachments to sugar at night, the more, all these things that attach you to places because you feel sad or you feel worried. See, that's not, the fear is a very major player. And don't even look at the fear, talk crap about Republicans and all that stuff and be political. I'm talking about get rid of the politics. Because politics and media, they go hand in hand. They live for each other. That's why they're there. It's a energy, it's a dimension, and it feeds you and it programs you. I mean, quit thinking that this reality, it doesn't work like that. It does. You're getting under mind control. And you're manifesting it. The social distancing is, yes, people are dying, definitely. But why can't you go to the park? Go to the park. Why are you scared? Put your mask on and go to the park and breathe. And then you see that, you know what? You feel better, and you take the mask off. And you're 100 feet from the next person. I mean, no one's going to the park. And then if there are people in the park, so what? They're not going to, fine, you go 6 feet away from them, you know? It's like, isn't that what people do in the first place? They're not next to each other. The social distancing has been like that forever. It's like a psychological distancing. No one stands close to each other. It's like the bubble. Get out of my bubble, you know? And it's just that I was talking about the oxygen and breathing that oxygen. You can counteract all these toxins in your mind by breathing more oxygen. If you stay in your house, it's going to be that same air. You have to take a walk. You have to get that fresh air. Fresh air. It'll do you wonders in your spirituality, in your life, in your movement. Because everything, like I said, I'm going to end with this. Everything is spiritual. Everything affects everything else. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And it's not about don't be stuck in survival mode. That's reptilian mind, you know. Be in your state of gratitude. Start being grateful. Start showing the gratitude. If you're grateful for your body, then what are you doing to improve your body? What are you doing to make your body more efficient? Like I said, you make that vessel for the energy of Allah to go out without that resistance of the ego. That's the struggle of life, period. But it's not a struggle. Struggle's not bad. The struggle is of the ego. That's what dua is. Dua means to invoke, to summon, to call upon. Call upon what? Call upon Allah. And what do you mean, call upon Allah? Call upon the attributes of Allah, the names. That's the energy. And then Allah's not limited to 99 names. Allah's infinity. And different cultures, different spiritual systems, different, they all have different names. But it's for the same thing. And the way you say and breathe the words, it's Allah, Elohim, why is it like the Jews at the time, they didn't say Allah, they said Allah, but the Arabs said Allah, but they said like Yehovah, Yudhe, Vahe, and they said all these chants, and like the Hindus, they said like, different chants, but all they were different ways to harness energy, and they weren't praying to these things outside themselves. It was just a personification of energy. Like Venus is the energy of beauty, right? Energy of beauty, but it's not like just beauty. It's a beauty of balance, and it's beauty of like Venus, she's a goddess and all that stuff. But it's like that's the personification of that pure energy. And then when it goes through people, they put it through the ego, right? And that energy gets covered up, through the ego's crap, basically. And the more you let go of the ego and attachment, and you let that energy come through without your ego, it just take the back seat. The ego has to take the passenger seat, and then it can't be a backseat driver, and it can't be a passenger that, hey, where are you going? Like trying to drive, the side seat driver, whatever they call it. It's like that takes, somebody has to get comfortable, for someone else to drive their car. And it's just really interesting. Some people are like, no, I'm cool with it. it depends on the person, and it depends on their wealth and their understanding of money. It's like, you know what, if the transmission goes, then the insurance will fix it. They're not worried about, like, you know anything. They just want to show the beauty of the car or whatever. And if it's like, whatever. What I'm saying is, like, that's what you can't cover. You can't cover it up, because the attempt to cover it up is an attempt of war. The attempt is like a war against what? Against Allah. You know better. Basically, you know it better, and yet the system knows it better than that system that is the divine, which flows through you, and you have a fitra, and you have nur, you have all these components in you, and it's like, but it's not part of the nafs, it's not part of the physical dunya. Then where is it from? But you have it in you. You have a nafs, you have fitra. Fitra is the, it's like the glove. Fitra is the hand, and the glove is Islam. Fitra is the hand, the glove is Islam. But who made the glove? It was through what system? Now there's, maybe you want a glove that fits in this time and now, right? What if you have a glove to catch falcons, and then surgical gloves, right? Like, you were wearing a glove, right? You're wearing gloves. A lot of people are wearing gloves. That's literally, the glove is from the mindset of the healthcare system. So you're putting it on. That's your fitra. That becomes your Islam, because it's covering your hands. It's like a symbology, and the thing that covers your hand is the Islam. What is Islam? Islam is submission to Allah. But if you don't know Allah, accept what you've been told, and you haven't experienced Allah, that energy, that understanding of energy, then you're still having something else cover your hand. And the process is take that glove off. And that's what the painful is. Like, you might have it clutched in, and you're taking it, but it's very painful. It's like glued to your fitra, you know what I mean? It's glued, and it's like sticking, and it's all like, and even if you take it off, it takes your skin off, and it's like hurting, and it's all this pus, and it has to heal. And the healing process is the other hand, the left hand, basically. The left hand is the feminine mind, the right brain. That part of you curing the hand in terms of, with its imagination and sympathy. It's taking care of the ego, instead of your ego being taken care of by the dunya stuff. It's taking care of its own, right? You are taking care of yourself, but it's like your soul taking care of your physical body. And it's like, and that process is basically, it heals as you heal yourself. You heal your habits. You heal the things that you're doing that are keeping you sick, in the mind, in the anger, in the mental plane, in the imagination, in your relationship. It's keeping you maybe financially sick, maybe it's keeping you, and that's like, it comes from a thought of like, a worry, and survivalism, it's like, it's all from Allah. But you have to be the receptor. You have to clean that physical self and the mental self, so you can harness the higher energy of Allah, which is, everything is Allah. And I promise you, it works. Okay, so everyone take care and have a blessed 4th day of fasting. And remember to stay hydrated. Stay hydrated, and really, if you tend to have, a lot of people, it's a very trying state of being, because maybe they're not used to not drinking water. but they're used to at least maybe they're used to maybe munching on something, or they're used to doing something that balances their blood sugar, because that is like a feeling that attaches onto your anger, and you become more angry, and you say things in anger when you shouldn't, in Ramadan especially, and all this time. It's like, then if you do it, then it builds guilt upon you. When you open your fast, you feel guilty, and you get like, or almost like you don't even know you did this, because 10 minutes after you open your fast and your beast is being taken care of, it doesn't remember that it did these harmful things. It's a really dangerous thing if you don't understand the self. And that's why I say, it's like, if people have big problems like this, they have to literally go through Ramadan like they're going through an exorcism, because you have to exercise that old self that triggered that, and that starts with getting rid of the fear. That's what I noticed. Everybody's in fear, and the fear is being manifested through their work, because maybe they're acting in terms of fear and scared and contradict, instead of expanding, they're contradicting and keeping their energy tight and guarding it, and being very angry at where it is, where, it's being angry. It's like, it's a psychological thing, and the moment that comes from attachment and fear. And the more you go through your fears and really see and forgive and forget and forgive yourself, and really change for the better, and maybe just watch some comedy, watch some comedy, watch something that's light on the heart. That could be Islamic too, that could be therapy. Watching a comedy, like, you don't have to watch it. You can listen to it. You can read something that lighthearted. We've been taught that if you don't do something that has to do with learning about the prophets and learning about this, it has nothing to do with Islam. No, the more you heal yourself by any means available, that is worship. Okay, do the dhikr, do all that stuff. If you're inclined to if you understand classical music, you understand those waves and frequencies, then maybe listen to a ayah that doesn't talk about the hell and fire, and that doesn't talk about punishment, and doesn't talk about how this nation got killed. Maybe listen to one that talks about the attributes of Allah, because the frequency of it will be at a higher frequency. It won't feed the fear. Like, seriously, because that's advanced stuff. Listen to the one that talks about how, do you not see the sky and this and that, or basically, like, really start getting your mind in a higher frequency. Get it attached to Jannah. Get it living in Jannah. If you were in Jannah right now, would you be eating like 10 pizzas? You know what I mean? Like 10 slices of pizza? No, you probably would have a handmade pizza, with portobello mushrooms, and you made it yourself. And that's like part of Jannah. Not, that's Jannah. And there's nothing wrong with thinking like that, because that's the vision that you have in Jannah. And it's like, it's your vision of Jannah, right? And you start becoming that in the physical. You start reflecting it. Because the road to Jannah isn't going down, it's going up. But even in the Jannah, you have an eagle. You have a car, right? You have a mansion, you have a palace, you have this, you have food, you have beauty, you have females, you have males, The females will have, cats. I don't know what the heck they want, who knows, right? They have their concubine men, who knows? But the thing is, it's your dunya, right? I'm not saying you start becoming promiscuous and things like this. No, obviously that's living in the ego. What I'm saying is, what kind of person would you be in Jannah? What kind of character would you have? You'd be a character. You could be even James Bond, right? You could be all these things. What I'm saying is, what character would you be, and why? Right? You wouldn't be for the satisfaction of anybody else in Jannah, because that's just an illusion anyways, because it's your Jannah, right? But you'd be always actuating, like getting closer to Allah, even in Jannah. So you do that now, and it's like you eventually, it's like you shed and you get out of hell, and you get to the, you climb out of hell and you get to that moment of resurrection, and you face your demons and you face your shadows, and you work on yourself, and you're still working and you're working, and it's like nothing's happening, and you're praying and you're crying now, and you're better, but it's like it's still some things you have to do, and you have to like go past grief and go past other people's expectation of you, and go past, oh, what are they going to think, why are you online, it's like that's shameful to talk about this, you get to get past, like I had to get past all those things in order for me to say what I'm saying. And it's not from anger, or it's from healing. It's from absorbing that other person's pain and using it to give back in a higher frequency. That's energy. And then forgiving them in my heart. But does it mean, do I bend to their thoughts? No. I mean, it's not about that. Because it's like you have that trust in Allah. Not in the belief. You have to have the knowing. You have the knowing. It's past belief time. It's not past belief. It's past belief. You have to be in knowing. Knowing Allah. That's where the power is. Belief, you can be in the belief of what your forefathers have told you. You can be in the belief of your environments and what your nafs is telling you. The knowing aspect is knowing about the nafs, knowing about the, about the attachments, about my own personal attachments, about your personal attachments, about areas where you have to improve on, and you're too scared to, or you're too afraid to let go of that thing you're holding on to in order to become that next person. And that's manifested, if not, it's manifested in the physical and in your action, in your energy. And the more you're covering up that core part that you should do, and you have to do it, and you're procrastinating and you're fearful of it, the more you do that, the more you're covering up that soul. And the more you cover it up, the more you have resentment for yourself. And then you take that out on other people, and you get energy from maybe fear, feeding the fear, and it's a very vicious cycle. And that's what Ramadan is for, to take you out of that cycle. Okay? So inshallah, I'm going to be online more often, and inshallah, I helped clarify some things for people, and just to get into that mindset, into that frequency. And I promise you, the promise of Allah is yours. It's a promise for you, for the believer. Okay? And gratitude is the key. Be in the gratitude. Like you already have everything you wanted. You literally have everything you wanted right now. When you be in that gratitude, then you will start getting more to be grateful for. But gratitude it requires action. If you're grateful for your car, you should take care of it. You should not speed, right? You should not ruin the brakes because you're speeding and you're stopping and you're letting things go. You know, that's not showing gratitude for your car, right? And your body is your vehicle, right? That's the greatest vehicle. Okay, everyone. So I will get going, and inshallah, you'll have a great opportunity to get close to the divine at night. At night, at 3 in the morning, just get up and allow yourself to cry. You don't have to do anything at all. Just get on your knees and just really reflect, and not reflect on how bad you are and oh how worried you are. Just reflect on how good you have it. Even if you don't have the payment for the next month, you still get into that mode of you have everything. Everything. You have freaking everything. If you're watching me, you have everything. Everything you ever wanted in life, you have it. Start being grateful for it, despite those things. And what will happen is your excellence will start to get polished. Your diamond is going to start getting polished. And the diamond is what? It reflects that energy, right? That strength, that brilliance. And the brilliance is not yours, it's Allah's. You're just that carbon, you know? So, and you have to, brighten that diamond up, cut it up into this, so it reflects that light. Okay? Assalamu alaikum.